Yeah, what's up, Coalition Crew? It's your fearless leader Mario, and today we're discussing disciplining your kids. Not only disciplining your kids in the proper way, but disciplining yourself. Stay tuned.
Paven this shit crazy. This shit crazy. This shit crazy.
Okay, today we discussing disciplining your child. This is a tough topic for a lot of parents, a lot of minority parents, as well as and especially as black parents, because all of us, as myself, grew up in an environment where physical discipline was paramount. But you have to understand how disciplining is affecting your child. Are you ready? Are you ready to humble yourself and listen? What does discipline mean? What does discipline mean to you? What does discipline mean to your significant other, your co-parent, or your parent? What does it mean to you? How are you disciplined? How do you plan to discipline your child? Discipline is something that is very important to how your child comes up, how your child is raised, the belief and moral and principle system that your child has. You need to understand that this is a delicate situation and you need to treat it as such. Discipline, in definition, means training that corrects, molds, or perfects the mental mind state or moral character. Do you understand that? Can you understand that nothing in that definition said slap, hit, punch, whoop? None of that said that. What it said was training. Training that corrects, molds, and perfect the mental mind state or moral character. How are you correcting the mind state and the moral character of your child? Because just whooping them and hitting them down is not the way to go. What you need to understand is not only do you need to discipline your child, you need to explain to your child what they did wrong. How was their action affecting their life, and tell them how to correct it, give them pros and cons, make them do a cost-benefit analysis. You cannot just approach a child with violence because, as I said in the past video, that the violence, when it's present, will correct the action. But when that violence is gone, the action will exist. Your child is only going to behave when they're around you and they know that that penalty is present. You need to change the mind state and the moral character. That is the definition of discipline. You got to understand this too, parents, that we have to discipline with a mind and a purpose and not an emotion. Don't whoop your child when you're high. Don't whoop your child when you're mad. Don't discipline your child when you're sad. Because you're taking out more on your children than they deserve. If there's a moral or mental problem with your child, you need to correct and get nothing else. You need to understand this, parents, because your child will not only fear you, but they will be confused as to what the issue is. Because when mama come home because daddy took the car and she whooped the child's not going to know I did wrong. The child's just going to see that mama's mad or daddy's mad. You need to differentiate the two. Remove your emotions from the discipline, and I know it's hard. Remove your emotions from the discipline and only discipline with a purpose, parents, because your child is watching. Talk to your children as well. You have to talk to your kids. You have to tell them what they did, why it was wrong, why you upset, and how they can do better. You cannot just come and say, oh, you spilled something on the floor. Oh, you was bad in school. You cannot do that. I must admit that that's how I grew up. I had a father that was a physical discipliner. And there was times in my life that I didn't understand what I was doing. I just knew that he was upset with me about something. I did not fear making a bad decision. I feared the reaction to the bad decision. You have to make your child fear making a bad decision for how it is going to affect them and not the physical discipline they are going to receive. Talk to your children. Help them understand their flaws. Help create a better person, not a fearful person. because that will develop into children that have depression, anxiety, children that don't trust. You have to understand these things, and you have to corroborate these things into your disciplinary program, because once again, discipline isn't about physical violence. It's about training that corrects the child's mind state and moral character. Parents, tune in, listen. I feel like this is the most important point of everything I'm gonna say. Don't just discipline your child, discipline yourself. Parents, you got to understand that just as your children aren't perfect, you aren't perfect. Just as your children are children, you were a child. You have to understand there's certain mistakes that a child is going to make that they cannot avoid. Spilling things on the floor, maybe having a bad day at school, maybe not going to sleep, maybe writing on the wall. You have to understand that these things are naturally a part of the child progression. Don't just beat the dog shit out of your kids because of the simple fact that they made the same mistakes you did. Take a second to say, hey, I did the same thing. I was disciplined a certain way. This affected me this way. I'm going to do my child different. I try every day to discipline my son a different way than I was disciplined. Because growing up from a physical disciplinary mind state, the main thing I would hop to go to is physical discipline. But I talk to my son. I sit him down and I say, Weston, what did I tell you about it? Oh, you told me not to do this and that and the third, Daddy. Why did you do that? Oh, because this and that and the third happened. That's no excuse. This is what's going to happen for that. Don't do that again. The next time you do that, this will happen again. You need to make a decision. This is not a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. You chose something. I seen a post on Facebook that said, the first time somebody do something, it's a mistake. I might give you a mistake the second time. But the third time, you're making a decision. You're saying, hey, I want to do this, and if I'm going to do this, these are the consequences, but I don't care. I want my children to understand that. Because if you get your children to understand that and you change their mental and moral mind state and their character, you won't have to do a lot of disciplining. Your kid's going to walk that line, but you have to walk that line as well. In order to raise kids, you have to know how to be a parent. And parents, the 90s babies and beyond, we have grew up in a generation where our parents were either addicted to drugs or weren't as involved as they need to be. Fathers weren't present. We have to change that now. In my last podcast I said, or my last YouTube episode I said, if we continue the cycle will continue. We have to end the cycle, y'all. We have to end the cycle today with togetherness, a moral character, and a mind state for us and our kids. But with that being said, it's your fearless leader Mario, and I'm going ahead and checking out Coalition Crew. Like, subscribe, comment. Yeah.